No more.
He's fat!
It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
He's fat!
Is a disgusting
He's
act
fat!
by Randy
He looks fat! He's fat!
Detroit, man, this is the Super Bowl. Here we go. Goff from the gun to the touchdown.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. Welcome into another episode of BS Sports. No Seth again this week. Unfortunately, the Home Depot, I don't know what's going on there. I don't really shop at the Home Depot that often. I don't know about you guys. I'm not really much of a handyman personally. But I don't know. Something's going on there. Like, I don't know if they're doing some crazy rituals. This is obviously a joke. This is totally a joke. There's no reality in this. But I don't know if maybe they're communicating before. I don't know. All I'm saying. Excuse me. I was holding that in during that initial introduction here. Wait. Okay. All right. We're dying. It's fine. It's fine. It's a great way to start the show. We got a good show. We had a crazy weekend in playoffs in the NBA and NHL. Conference finals are set. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about it. We're going to preview all that fun stuff. We also got the NFL schedules. They came out. All the primetime games released. All the individual team schedules released. We'll briefly take a look at the Lions, and then we'll take a look at the entire primetime schedule. And then I got a little Tiger update for you, and I got something I gotta talk about it because it's something that I wasn't really talking about most of the season, and last night was indicative of the problem that this team is having. And they're playing the Royals here. They're gonna start that game in about 20 minutes or so. But hopefully they'll win. It's not great. They're below 500 again, so not feeling good about them. But gotta start with we're gonna start that segment over. People watching the clip, they're not even gonna know. Gotta start with the NBA playoffs. We gotta start with crazy weekend. First, early last week, Boston knocks off Cleveland. First team to make the conference finals. I don't really have much to add. I mean, Boston was just far and away the better team. Cleveland, they win the one game. Similar to the Heat, they just win the one game and the gentleman's sweep for Boston. So they've been sitting for a while in the Eastern Conference Finals. They do play tonight, 8 p.m. Gonna be must-see TV for sure. But I don't really have much. Cleveland is in kind of a weird spot. You don't know if Spider is going to come back, if Donovan Mitchell. I don't know why people call him Spider or Spida. I don't even know why I just called him that. Donovan Mitchell I don't know if he's long for Cleveland. Which it really sucks because it's like, well, what are they supposed to do at this point? Then I guess like it just he's obviously kind of the front runner, right? He was the leader of that team. He's the best player on the team, and to have him leave, you can't expect the team to grow from there. I guess I don't know. It's kind of an awkward spot. I mean, I guess if you're Cleveland, well, hey, first playoff series, you got to the second round for the first time since before LeBron played. So good job. Like you managed to knock that monkey off your back. Maybe you can start being a serious franchise at this point. I say that as if like they've had far more recent success than my team. So not as though I'm throwing stones in a glass house here. But Cleveland, unfortunate for them, but they ran into that freight train that was Boston. And Boston, I mean, they're going into this series against the Pacers. They've got to be the favorites. Indiana, and they're a young team, but they're not playing like a young team. They're playing like a team that's a team of destiny. I don't know how else to put it. The Pacers in Game 7, in one of the great joys of my life as a basketball fan, they go into Madison Square Garden and they poop right on that center logo, right on that big orange Nick. Ben Stiller was watching. John McEnroe was watching. John Stewart was watching. Everybody was there. Stephen A. Smith was there. And this was what Stephen A. was just.
I'm so sick of these people. Oh!
Thank you, Stephen A. Thank you. That was basically his experience at the Knicks game. I like this Knicks team. I do. I like Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle did not play. I don't know if that says anything about him, but he got hurt. That was the thing. There's too many injuries. When you're basically running out Alec Burks, shout out Pistons legend Alec Burks, it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. And I guess the solace that Knicks fans can take is that, well, if you come back next year and you're healthy, you might not be, losing in 7 and getting blown out in your own house. I'm trying to put myself in the perspective of a Knicks fan. If I was a Knicks fan and my team did that in Game 7, my instinct would be, I don't care how many injuries you had. That is pathetic. You have to show up at home, Game 7. Chance to go to the conference finals. Haven't done it in, a decade. Over a decade. More like probably since the 90s, right? Long time. The Knicks haven't been very good, if you haven't noticed. But you still got Brunson, still got Randall. You got Hart. I think Hart's coming back. Oh, he might be a free agent. I mean, you have pieces, and you have some people are going to want to come play for you, I guess. Now, as far as Coach Tibbs, yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's weird. He's obviously successful with the Knicks, but everybody seems to hate this guy. And again, maybe I'm out of the loop. Not a New York sports fan, not in the New York media, but I would take Coach Tibbs over Monty Williams. I don't as far as what he has done successfully, as far as having a successful winning team. Not that, again, I guess Monty Williams had winning teams before he got to Detroit, but I think there's a lot of bright for the Knicks in their future. I don't think that it's all going to be doom and gloom. I don't think that it was this year or bust for them. I think they got a bright future. I think Brunson is that guy. I mean, obviously, heartbreaking. He goes down in Game 7. It's one of those things, man, where it's I don't know. Is your health and conditioning not good? Do you need to do some fixes there? I mean, obviously you can't prevent all of these things with just good conditioning, but I don't know. Whenever it's a large scale team thing where everybody just gets hurt, it does kind of it makes one want to ask the question at least. I'm not sure if it's necessarily accurate, but it is what it is. But as far as the Pacers go, this is a team that I can root for. I mean, this is a team that was down bad just a few years ago. Obviously, they've been in the lottery the past few seasons. They trade to get Halliburton. They get rid of Sabonis. And now they're rocking Pascal. They got Matherin, I believe, is on. Benedict Matherin, he's on the Pacers. You got Tyrese Halliburton. As Matherin played, I just realized, I was like, I don't remember them talking that much about Benedict Matherin. I'm certain he's played. Now I'm like, no, I'm losing my mind. Or is he? Let me see. ESPN. I'm pretty sure. I guess I just haven't heard his name called. Let's see. Game log. Yeah, no, I guess he didn't play. Or wait, no, I'm stupid. No, yeah, wait, this is regular season. Where's the postseason? Okay, yeah, he's he played, right? No, maybe he hasn't. Oh yeah, he's OFS. He's not been playing. So I don't know what OFS stands for. Does that mean hurt? Whatever. He's not playing. Yeah. Okay. Season-ending surgery. Okay. So whatever. He's not on the team. Disregard everything I just said about Benedict Matherin. He doesn't play. But if he did play, he'd be okay. Probably. I mean, like when he was playing, he was shooting 44% from the field, 14 points. Like that's at least a positive sign for the future there. For the team in general. But outside of him, I mean, you still got, McConnell. You still got Naismith. Obviously, we already mentioned Siakam, Shibwe, Oscar Shibwe, Kentucky. Hey, look at that. Miles Turner. They got Obi Toppin. They got pieces. They got pieces, and this is a young team, and they're, I would say, probably overperforming. But I will say this, okay? And this isn't, a one-size-fits-all theory about, series and playoffs, all that. Boston has handled both of their opponents. They really haven't had much of a challenge. Meanwhile, the Pacers have played 2 series that went at least 6 games initially against the Bucks, who, to be fair, were dealing with injuries. The Knicks also dealing with injuries. But the Celtics have been resting here. It feels like it's been an eternity since the Celtics have played. The Pacers, on the other hand, are high on life, right? Like they are ready to go. They're red hot. And I wouldn't be shocked if they come out and they shock the world tonight and they win game 1. I really wouldn't. But you could go either way with it, because on the other side of it, well, Boston's going to be ready. They're rested. They're healed up of any little injuries that might be coming their way, and they could come in and they could just stomp Indiana, because they've been stomping everybody else, and I don't see necessarily why they would just stop that. But I think we're gonna have a really good Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll get into the Western Conference Finals in just a second here. But certainly in the East, I think it's going to be an all-time classic. I'm rooting for the Pacers personally, but I really wouldn't be all that upset if the Celtics ended up winning, because that's another really likable team. I want to get to the Western Conference Finals as well, and the Western Conference in general. So first things first, OKC gets knocked out in 6 against the Mavs. Look, no shame in losing for OKC. This is one of the most well-run organizations in the NBA. They've got the capital. They got a lottery pick that they're going to take this year. You swept the Pelicans in the first round, and you damn near came, you were 2 wins away from Western Conference Finals, while still having all the draft capital and all the young talent on the team. I mean, you got Gilgeous-Alexander, you got Chet, you have pieces. You have your front 2 guys in Chet and Shai. Those are your number 1 and number 2 respectively. Those are your stars, if you want to call it that. And I think they're only going to get better, right? They're only going to get more experience. They're only going to, Chet was an all rookie. He did this in his rookie year. He was playing at a high level. And I got to give the man respect, because I was not all that high on him coming out of Gonzaga. No disrespect, but I was not expecting him to be that big of an impact. But hey, when you're that long, I guess you're able to figure it out. And the fact that the Mavericks do end up winning, getting to the Western Conference Finals, I don't know. There was something about this team. It was like, I don't know if anybody even noticed the Mavericks for a while. I mean, PJ Washington's playing out of his mind. Obviously, you got Luka and Kyrie, but the Mavericks might be a sneaky team out of these Final Four. I just don't know that there's much talk about them because Boston, best team in the league by record, best regular season record in NBA, right? Pacers, young upcoming team. Wolves, Anthony Edwards show. But the Mavs, like Luka Doncic, is like he took that that snubbed MVP personally, apparently. And I will say, I mean, like I'm not necessarily going to be rooting for them in the Western Conference Finals, but again, similar to the Eastern, it's like I'm not going to be upset if they win because Luka Doncic is fun as hell to watch, and PJ Washington, it's like they go and they make a midseason trade to get PJ Washington, and he's been an incredible contributor for them this whole playoffs for sure. On the other side of it, you have the Wolves knocking out the Timberwolves in 7. This was one of the best Game 7s I've ever watched, and I know that it's not necessarily, there's been a lot of great Game 7s, and maybe, in terms of like people might look at, finals Game 7s, obviously the 2016 Game 7, plenty of other all-time classic Game 7s in the NBA. I don't know if this one's going to necessarily be one of them, but what I will say is if you're a Nuggets fan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had to go through what happened there because man, oh man, was that rough. So a little bit of context here. I'm reading a book, right? I'm sitting right at that chair there, reading a book, got the game on, kind of, glancing back because I was like, it's a little bit of a blowout. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm looking away from my book every so often, and I'm seeing, wow, it's like a 6-point game now. And then, oh, it's a 2-point game. And oh my gosh, the Wolves are winning. Like, huh? Like, how could this happen? How did you allow this to happen? But look, this Wolves team, I don't know. They feel like the or the Western Conference version of the Pacers. Like Anthony Edwards, he didn't even have an amazing game, but still showed out in the moments that mattered most. Karl Anthony Towns had that putback dunk on the rebound. That was insane. Rudy Gobert had that crazy fadeaway jumper over for Jokic there. It was something. And I think ultimately all that this is indicative of to me is the NBA is, and I want to use my words carefully, but I also want to make kind of an extreme point. So bear with me. The NBA is becoming good again. Like, it's not just the Golden State LeBron show, right? It's not just, hey, let's watch which super team fight this other super team. No, I mean, you look at the Final Four. The Final Four are basically, for the most part, not necessarily entirely, but they're all kind of homegrown teams. I mean, obviously, Dallas, you have Kyrie, PJ Washington. Those guys are not homegrown. But Luka is their star. Luka is the leader of that team. He's homegrown. The Wolves are completely indicative of that. Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, Anthony Edwards. I mean, I love that team. That if I really were to pick a team to root for, I'm in it for the Timberwolves. That team is fantastic. It's everything that I wish the Pistons were. Essentially, is just homegrown, not local guys, but guys that you drafted, you developed, being contributors. Obviously, you make a big move. You get Gobert out of Utah. People made fun of it. I said, you know what? I appreciate that the Wolves are trying something, and it has paid off in spades for them. Obviously, Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, one of, if not the best defensive player in the NBA right now. Obviously, he wins Defensive Player of the Year. That's sort of where that goes. And then you look at even the Celtics, which is a big market team, but usually I don't like the big market. I like the Celtics team. You got Porzingis, you got Jason Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown. Like, it's like kind of a fun team. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And then with the Pacers, I mean, again, that's another one. I mean, obviously you trade for Halliburton, so you didn't draft the guy, but you did. He's essentially just a pacer, right? Like, he's only going to really be known as a pacer, depending on how his career goes from here. But then you go out, you get Siakam as well. That's another trade. you still have some of the other guys that are in your roster that you've just drafted, and just like a team that has been built with a purpose, right? Like you're it's not just let's go find this superstar, let's go get Kevin Durant, let's go get James Harden, let's go get LeBron James. No, it's like it feels real. I guess it just feels more like these teams sort of embody the individual, like they're not just like big markets or just big selling point. It's like they feel like they are embodiments of the region in which they play in a way. And I know that maybe that doesn't totally make sense. I don't know. I can't really rationalize. It just feels that way. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it. Wednesday night, tomorrow night, Western Conference game 1. Tonight, you have Eastern Conference game 1. I'm really looking forward to these conference finals. I love it. This has been probably one of the best NBA playoffs in a very long time for me. That's for sure. All right. Needed that. People don't realize how much you talk on these sorts of things. Like, whenever you listen to a podcast or you listen to a radio show or whatever, and you just think, oh, wow, like, that seems like the easy job. Like, man, I'm only like 25 minutes in here and my voice is already like, I'm like, I need water. I'm going to die. But that is the NBA playoffs. Let's bring up the NHL playoffs really quick here. So, first things first, Rangers, they knock off the Canes, comeback win in game 6 in the third period. Hey, similar to what I told Nuggets fans, Hurricanes fans, I'm sorry. I don't know how you go about it. Obviously, the Canes, they got their cup. They got it. Almost over a decade or a couple of decades ago. But they got it. That was rough. All right. That was not easy to watch. But I also got to think, like, for the Canes, it's like you got to make a move. It's like they have guys. You got Aho and they're a defensive unit, but you need something more. You need, like, I don't know. You need something. Like, you need that piece. And I've been saying this. So obviously Patrick Kane, he's going to be a free agent here. What about Kane to the Kane? I'm just saying, like, he showed at Detroit, he's still, a top of the line goal scorer for a good team. And I think he would fit right in as far as offense. Obviously, he plays no defense, but that's not what you're bringing him in for. You're bringing him in to score goals, get your power play goals, get your, whatever. Go on breakaways, win shootouts in the regular season, win overtimes in general. I think it would be a good fit, but I don't know. I'm not a hockey expert, so I'm not going to necessarily say it's this guy or nothing. But speaking of the Eastern Conference, we got to talk about the Panthers. Panthers, they go ahead and they beat the Bruins. Final game, low scoring affairs. Not exactly blowout games. They win 2-1. Most of these games, the winner had most of these games down the stretch, I should say, the winner had 3 goals or less. But I mean, to me, it was just Florida was just a better team. They were up 3-1 on the series going into Game 5. Obviously, it ends up being a little bit more of a series, but Florida was just always the better team to me. I never really was concerned about Boston being able to beat them. Just too good. You're just too good, and there's not much you could do if you're Boston. And I think that Florida's still probably the best team in the Eastern Conference. But this series upcoming with the Rangers and the Panthers, I think we truly did get the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference playing each other. Like, the Rangers have obviously they ran through the first round. They swept Washington. They just wouldn't say die against a really good Canes team. And now they're up against probably their toughest opponent in the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers, I've described them earlier on the show and early in shows, weeks ago. It's a team on a mission. Last year, they get embarrassed in the Stanley Cup. They win just one game against the Golden Knights. Hey, there's no Golden Knights for them waiting on the other side. It might be a worse or it might be a better team. It might be a worse scenario for them, but I do think that Florida right now, they're the favorites for me, at least coming out of the East. But I don't know, man. This Rangers team, I might think that they're gonna win, but it won't be easy. I think this could very well go, 6 or 7 games, either way. On the other side of it, you got the Dallas Stars. They knock out Colorado in a second overtime in an elimination game. They win the series in 6. Colorado, to me, they won the cup a couple of years ago. Last year, disappointment with injuries. This year, just sort of general disappointment. It was just a few years ago that this team really couldn't get out of the second round. And maybe they're kind of running back into that. They had their magical cup run, and nobody's going to fault them for that. And no Colorado Avalanche fan is going to want to take that back. But Dallas Stars, this is a team that I think similar to the Mavericks, actually. This is the less focused on team. This team, first of all, they had the Game 7 win, or they won in 7 over the reigning Cup champion Vegas Knights in the first round. They play a heck of a series, 6 games against the Avs. And you got Wyatt Johnston. You have Ottinger in net. This is a team. The final. Let's see. The final 1, 2, 3, 4 games. 3 out of those 4 games, they held Colorado to 1 goal. Hey man, good goaltending. It goes a long way in the playoffs, that's for sure. And they probably have the best goaltender, or one of the best. It's hard to say who the best is because they're all good goaltenders. You still got Bobrovsky over in the East as well, but Ottinger, he's fantastic. He's been really good for them. However, their opponent is one Edmonton Oilers, so we do still have a Canadian team with a chance to go to the Stanley Cup and win the Stanley Cup. And the Edmonton Oilers, if any team from Canada was going to win, it very well could or should even be this Edmonton Oilers team. You got Draisaitl, you got Nugent, Hughes Nugent, whatever the guy's name is. And obviously you got Connor McDavid, the best player in the NHL. I don't care what any of the particular stats were this year. Connor McDavid is the best hockey player in the world. Full stop. End of story. Amen. Hallelujah. He didn't even play all that. He didn't even go all out in the final game there. It was really just everybody else. It was Nugent there. He had a great goal. And they went up 3-0. To me, it was well, Vancouver, you just went out with a whimper, and it makes one wonder if Vancouver is a little bit of a flash in the plan. Flash in the plan. Flash in the pan. My thing about them was they weren't very good in the playoffs in general. They ended up going 5-5 in the playoffs. But further, their power play was just plain old pathetic. It just wasn't good. They could really never sustain a lot of pressure. That final, minute or so where they had the empty net, the man advantage. I was like, man, you would have to convince somebody to say that they have the man advantage. Just the way they're playing, it just seemed like Edmonton was totally on top the whole time. But it is what it is. Meanwhile, the Tigers just gave up a run on what I'm going to guess is going to be either just an infield base hit or an error on Casey Mize because the ball went right off his glove. Talk about unlucky. Hold on. I just got to... come on, Casey. You got to field that. That sucks. Anyway, yeah, Vancouver, I don't know. They've got stars. They got Hughes. They got Miller. They got Hronek, former Red Wing. They got guys that can be contributors, but I just don't know how sustainable their method is if it was even meant to really be all this sustainable in general. Like, I guess in my mind, I don't know. They seem like they came out of nowhere this year. You thought maybe they could really do it. I mean, they had a really crazy series against Nashville where they were having comeback wins and all this crazy stuff. But then, they just kind of go out with a whimper against Edmonton. So Edmonton up against Dallas, that's going to be unstoppable force meets immovable object as well. Edmonton, all offense all the time. Skinner, I mean, he had a good game 7. I'll give him credit, but I don't think he's actually really all that great of a goaltender. And maybe I'm wrong on this. I'm pretty sure I've heard from people on TV, on the television, that he is not all that great. But I will say that, like, if he plays the way he played in Game 7, it might be an easy series for Edmonton. I think they do have more offensive, superstar guys, no pun intended, than Dallas. But at the same time, again, I mean, like, it's hard because both these teams, both Edmonton and Dallas, they're coming into this conference finals both playing crazy difficult series. So I think you're gonna see some really, maybe either like running on fumes or like, basic, like going all in, like, energy is being completely dissipated, or there's gonna be no energy. Like it's gonna be like it's gonna be like a 1-0 win, or something like that. But yeah, it's going great in the playoff world for hockey. I've enjoyed these playoffs. Right now you're looking at one team left that hasn't won it, and that's Florida. And I think that they very well could be the team to win it. I will say though, and this is sort of unrelated, like right now you have one original 6 team left. You have one team from Canada, and then you have 2 teams from regions of the world where, well, needless to say, hockey is probably not the most popular sport in Dallas or in Miami. But yet these spoiled fans down south, they get incredible hockey teams. Meanwhile, me, Red Wings fan, I get nothing. Not that I deserve anything. I'm just saying, it's like it makes me upset. It's not fair. Why do they get fun? I want a good hockey team more than probably anybody in Miami. Whatever. Meanwhile, the Tigers are down 1-0, and they got a runner on third base. Casey Mize not off to a great start, although he could definitely get himself out of this. If he just gets with the 1 run, I'm not going to be too upset. But, well, we'll talk about the Tigers in a bit here. I want to talk about this NFL schedule. So first, I want to just break down the Lions schedule, just because Lions fan, and that's what I want to prioritize a little bit. So, game 1, week 1, Sunday Night Football against the Rams. Little wild card rematch for the Rams. I mean, like, I don't know how you couldn't have written it a better way. Tirico called the game last year. He's going to call a game this year. Matt Stafford coming back to Detroit again. It was his last game. And look, I mean, this is a Rams team that they've got pieces. Blake Corum, they pick him up in the draft. You're going to have Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. Meanwhile, Salvi Perez just lined a ball into right field. Now it's 2-0. This is wonderful. But no, the Rams, they're going to have a pretty high octane offense. And I think they had a pretty decent draft. And from all the publications, I want to say they were one of the higher graded teams. So it's going to be a good game. And I mean, look, in the NFL, it's rare when you have a team that's good like the Lions, that the game that they're playing is like awful to watch. It can happen. I'm not saying it can't, but it's not all that common. And I'm gonna be entertained one way or the other. And the best part is, it's on my birthday. They start the season on my birthday, September 8th. I kind of was like, I knew it would be a possibility, but obviously you never know. I didn't know if the Lions were going to get the first game of the season, if they were going to do like a rematch between Lions Chiefs, although the Lions and the Chiefs didn't play. I don't know. I didn't know is the point, or if they were going to play Monday night. Either way, but So that's gonna be fun. Hopefully they win on my birthday. Because if they don't, it'll be a terrible birthday, and I will never forgive them. That's not true. That's not true. They win the Super Bowl but lose on my birthday. I forget. Other games. Week 2 they got Tampa Bay. Another playoff rematch. It's funny. It's like I wish that obviously it's not how it turned out, but it would have been funny if after the Bucks game they had us playing the 49ers. It's like we're just playing the same 3 games we had just played to end the season last year. But we're doing it here this time. But they got Tampa Bay at home. I mean, it's back-to-back games of what we did in the playoffs essentially. So feeling good about that. You go on the road to Arizona. You come back home Monday Night Football against the Seahawks. Early bye week really sucks. Not a fan of that, but it's I guess a kind of nerf for you. The NFL. I don't know how they determine the bye weeks necessarily, but the Lions, I believe that's the earliest a bye week can be is week 5. So we get the earliest bye week, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then we go on the road to Dallas. That's a 4:30 start. Go on the road to Minnesota. I should talk briefly about. Really looking forward to that Dallas game. I really, really hope we win this time because I have just been dying for the Lions to beat the Cowboys, and they just haven't beat them in so many years. And it would be nothing but great joy for me if the Lions could beat the Cowboys in Jerry's world, because the Cowboys deserve nothing but pain. They do. Anyway, on the road against Minnesota, that could be an interesting game. You don't know if J.J. McCarthy is going to get the start at that point. Oh boy. Whoa. Wow, that's terrible. Sorry, the Tigers game is just making me depressed. JJ McCarthy could be the starter there for the Vikings. It's possible, at least. Then Lions come back home, play Tennessee. They then go on the road. I believe. Yeah, they go on the road. That's a 4:30 game against the Packers. I thought it was a primetime game. It is not. Then they go on the road again to the Texans. That I believe is going to be Sunday night or Monday Night Football. One of the primetime games. That's going to be primetime either way. That's going to be a really good game. You very well, possibly, at least, going into the season, very possibly could be a Super Bowl preview. I don't necessarily think that will be the case, but it's possible at the very least. You come back home, take on Jaguars, go back on the road, take on Indy. And then you got a 3-game home stretch where you got the Bears on Thanksgiving, the Packers on Thursday Night Football. I know that's Thursday Night Football. I'm like 99% certain it's Thursday Night Football. Actually, I'm 100% certain because the next week's game is 10 days away. So yeah, that's a Thursday night game. So we would have back-to-back Thursday night or Thursday games, which I actually think works out, right? Because then it's like, okay, you're not like, I guess you would be on short notice going into the Thanksgiving game, but you're always on short notice anyway. But then to give you a regular week break for that next Thursday game against the Packers, that makes a lot of sense to me at least. You stay home for the Bills, go on the road to the Bears. Then I believe this is Sunday or Monday Night Football against the 49ers on the road, rematch the NFC Championship. And then at home, TBD against the Vikings. And obviously that usually is how it goes. They usually leave that final week for TBD, unless it's a primetime game, which even then I actually don't know. I think sometimes they do leave those TBD. So we end the season this time at home same deal. This same deal as last year, end the season at home against the Vikings. I think at that point, J.J. McCarthy will almost certainly be the starter, but you never know. You never know. Overall, yeah, whatever. I think the Lions could beat any, if not all, of the teams on this. There's no game in this where I'm like, that's an auto loss. Lions are a really good team. They're a Super Bowl contender. I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I got nothing. I got nothing else. But briefly, I wanted to take a look as well at the primetime games themselves, as all the main networks posted the primetime games. Just looking at Monday Night Football. Obviously, I already mentioned Niners, Lions. That's the second Monday Night Football game the Lions get. They also get the Seahawks, Lions, Seahawks. That's also Monday night game. Looking at some of these games, it's sort of hit or miss. You might get something interesting with Philly, Atlanta early there. Bills, Jets, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, that could be an interesting game. I don't know who decided Giants Steelers was a good idea, but apparently that their people told them that it was. So that stuff and things. I think Bengals Cowboys, that probably, just looking right here, that could be the best game. Texans Cowboys, that could be a really good game. Monday night usually delivers. Really, it's the Thursday night games that seem to be kind of crappy. I'm not really offended by most of these. So now we'll get on to me being offended. Probably we're gonna take a look at the Thursday night football games, the Amazon Prime games. Look, all right. There's a few of these that I'm like, why did you do that? Why would you subject people to watching this? One of them is Broncos Saints. I just want to say, if somebody told me that they wanted to put the most ugly, disgusting, heinous, evil, even, this is what they would be. This is what this would be. If they wanted to put this to script, that is atrocious. And I'm hoping that these games are at least good because I know the players don't like them. I know some of the fans don't really like them. I don't feel like horribly about it. Lions get one. They got the Packers, as I said earlier. There's also going to be the Black Friday game this year. It's going to be Raiders Chiefs. Obviously, they have that really crazy game on Christmas. So I guess Amazon figures, let's run it back, give it another shot. It's a divisional game. Steelers and Browns. I'm disgusted, frankly. I'm sickened at the thought of it. So thanks for that. Bears Seahawks. I don't know. Why are there so many, like, it just seems like there's so many, like, I get they're trying to take some risk, right? Like, you're not going to get just a bunch of really good games, right? Like, there's no way. It's impossible. But you're trying, at least in theory, to get, matchups that you can either sell to people or that just will be good games. And yeah, I mean, you have the Jets twice. I'm sorry, I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers anymore. He's 100 years old and his offensive line stinks. So, yeah. And then moving on finally to the Sunday night games. So, kickoff game, you got the Ravens and the Chiefs. That was already announced, I believe. And then you got the Brazil game on Peacock between Packers and the Eagles. Already mentioned Lions, Rams week 1. And then it'll be Lions, Texans on Sunday Night Football as well. Other games that are somewhat notable, Jets, Steelers for its crimes against humanity, basically, is what that game is going to be. Couple other potentially interesting ones. Chargers, Chiefs, new coach, divisional game. You might have something there. Chiefs, Texans, that should be a really good game, I think, at least. You have the Thanksgiving night game is Packers and the Dolphins, so that's definitely going to be something fun, for sure. For that late night, you just get home from Thanksgiving, you throw on some football, see how the Packers are doing. Niners and Cowboys, that's always a good game. And hopefully the Cowboys lose because that's always fun. And then week 18 TBD. So we'll see about that. But overall, I wouldn't say it's like atrocious. I would say they did a pretty good job. The NFL usually does a pretty good job with scheduling. I don't know. They have their fingers on the pulse of, matchups and narratives and all that. They just know how to do it. And we'll be mentioning it, weeks in, like, oh my gosh, can you believe they managed? It's like, yeah, these people who make these TV, contracts and these schedules, man, they're not just pulling it out of their behind, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. But I'm looking forward to the NFL. I'm looking forward to football again, especially with the way the baseball season looks like it's going, and no postseason for either my basketball or my hockey teams. So at this point, I would like to go back to competent sports teams. So Detroit Lions plays just come back. I'm dying here. I can't do this week to week complaining about my teams. It's not good for me. Probably. So, speaking of complaining about our teams, we're gonna wrap it up here in just a bit. Got to talk about Los Tigres. So, the Tigers are having what one might call a May slump. They lose the 3-game set to the Marlins in embarrassing fashion. They get shut out in back-to-back games. They go out and they win 2 out of 3 on the road against the Dbacks. So I was like, all right, feeling good. Then last night they get blown to smithereens against the Royals on national TV, by the way, on FS1. And right now they're losing 2-0. The offense. It's still early, but the offense looks as bad as it has been. And it's getting to the point where, and I mentioned it earlier, like at what point do you just say, you know what? We're just gonna sell. Like we're just gonna sell off these pitchers. We're gonna sell Skubal. We're gonna sell Lang. We're gonna sell Foley. You know, maybe you sell any arms you can get. Something like this offense is so far behind what it should or what it should be to be a competitor that you basically got to not necessarily start over exactly, but you got to kind of reset you got to recalibrate something. Like this offense can't win you anything. It's too unreliable. I know some people will say, well, they scored 13 and 8 against the D-backs on the road. Okay. They do this. They do this a lot where they will randomly have a game where they score some runs on the year as a team. They're awful. Okay. Like now I'm going to pull it up. All right. Like where do they rank in home runs, for example? Let me find you. Where are they? Let's see. And 25th. 25th in home runs, 39. That is as much as the Cardinals, the Blue Jays, the Nationals. Yeah, where do they rank in batting average? I'm glad you asked. Here's where they rank in team batting average. Oh, yeah. They rank 19th. So, I mean, they've increased. They were like 25th like a week ago, but they're 19th right now, which is not good. Their team batting average is 233, which is to say below league average. And in OPS, again, where do they stand? Oh, boy, there they are. They're 20th, 674. Look, I can complain about the offense day in and day out, but in order to have some semblance of positivity, I guess I'll talk about Colt Keith because Colt Keith recently, very quietly, has been playing really good. His last 15 games, he's batting .350. He's got an over 800 OPS in those games as well. On the season, he has been very bad, but he might be starting to turn it around. And, you know, I'm not one to completely throw out any player one way or the other if they have a bad first month or even a first, month and a half. But I was getting a little impatient with Colt Keith because we signed this guy. Everybody, like he rakes at every level. Same kind of story as Spencer Torkelson, and he looked like he was having a similar start. But he's certainly turned it around. And if this offense is going to be anything resembling competent, he's got to be an above-average player. He's got to be a contributor. He's got to go out and that sucks for him. He's 22 years old. Like this was a part of my problem with relying on this guy to begin with and not signing more bats. You got a 22-year-old who you're like, hey, what are you doing? Our offense stinks. Come on, pick it up, Colt. It's like the guy just got his legal right to buy alcohol. Like I don't think he's ready to, be the offensive leader of your team. And if he is, then either he's the greatest thing since, Ty Cobb or your team isn't very good. And meanwhile, that was a crazy hit by Garcia. Just sailed right over. I think that was Javi Baez there. Oh my gosh. I hate this team. I hate the Royals and I hate the Tigers even more somehow. The team I root for, I actually hate more. That's what's amazing. I want to say I had like a similar streak last year where like every time they were on and we do the show because we do the show on Tuesdays, like they would just lose. Like it was like always. And I don't know if this is continued. I'd have to look and see if that's been the case. But either way, Colt Keith, not only in the last 15 or in the last 7 games, in the last 15 games, he's been really good. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Hopefully that's the kind of thing we can come to expect from Tigers hitting prospects, because we see Wentzil Perez. He comes up, he makes an immediate impact. Colt Keith, he's come up. He didn't make an immediate impact, but he made an impact. Meanwhile, that's a 3-run home run. And Bobby Witt Jr. just opened up the game, and that's basically the series. So that was fun, guys. It was fun while it lasted. 6th home run for Bobby Witt, and I'm dead inside, basically. And speaking of being dead inside, I have to put out a PSA. All right, this is serious business. Somebody please help Reese Olson. Anybody. Reese Olson, okay? Probably one of the most underrated pitchers in the major leagues right now. He is 9th in ERA, okay? Where is he in strikeouts? Hold on. Let me see if I can find him. Wait, where is he? Maybe he isn't that high in strikeouts. We're going to ignore strikeouts. He is... Oh, wait, this is the wrong way. He is... Tony. Where his whip probably dropped a little bit from yesterday. Where is he? Needless to say, all right, he's very good, okay? He's very good. I don't know where. Maybe he's not showing up for some reason. I'm on ESPN, and I don't know. Sometimes it's goofy like that. But he's very good, and he's one of the few hitters with few pitchers with a sub-3 ERA and still an 0-4 record. He according to OptaStats on Twitter, Reese Olson is the only MLB pitcher to have a sub 2.25 ERA, but an 0-4 or worse record over his first 8 starts of a season since ERA became an official stat in both leagues in 1913. Huh? What? That is how bad this offense is. That is how bad. Because poor Reese Olson can't even... The guy could throw a damn near a perfect game. And this offense would say, you know what, Reese? We don't want you. We don't care about you. Go out, throw your little perfect game. We'll let the other guy throw a super perfect game, which I don't even know what that is. But it's got to be better than a perfect game because it's a super perfect. That's just science, right? That's just how that works. I am just... I can't do it. I can't do it. Poor result. And then the worst part about it all. Yesterday night, I didn't even get to watch it. I just heard about it afterwards. Poor Reese Olson gets hit by a 100-mile-per-hour line drive to his culo, and he leaves the game. Now, luckily, apparently, he's not necessarily going to be like out long term or anything like that, but this poor guy cannot catch a break. Like, it is beyond, like, parody at this point. This poor guy, he has the least run support in the majors. If I'm Reese Olson, I'm like, you know what? F you guys. Trade me. I can't do this. You traded to get me? Trade me away. I can't do this. Put me on a team with some bats. Trade me to Baltimore. Trade me to New York. Trade me to LA. I don't know. Trade me somewhere where players are actually getting on base and driving in runs. This is ridiculous. And look, the more and more this Tigers team loses, the more I'm like, you know what? Trade any and all of these arms. Trade any of them. Trade Olson. Trade Skubal. Trade Foley. Trade them. Like, this offense is this far behind, right? We clearly can develop pitching. I mean, we develop Olson. We develop Skubal. I know Mize having a bad game right now, but I think this is a little, it's not how he normally is going to be. Jack Flaherty has shown to be a pretty good piece. He's a guy on a 1-year deal you could get something for. Kenta Maeda's dead, but I don't really care about him. Like, you have a lot of arms. Go out this trade or even get ahead of the curve and just go out and start naming your price. Go out, ask for top-of-the-line prospects, position players, everyday hitters in this lineup. Because if this is the kind of run support we're going to give any of these pitchers. We're going to give Ty Madden when he's ready, Jackson Jobe when he's ready. We might as well not even bring him up. Like, we might as well. But just let him play in Toledo. Let him win the AAA championship, because that's the only championship they win in our system. If that's the case, if we're not going to give them any run support, like, with this team, where they're at, they're more than likely going to lose this game. They're down 5-0 in the bottom of the second. It's not great. It's still early, but it's not great. Assuming that they continue to just lose, like, assuming they lose this series to Kansas City, either tonight or tomorrow, assuming they don't come back here. And then they got Toronto at home for 4 games. That should be a series that maybe you can get yourself back right. And you got Pittsburgh as well at home. You basically have to start playing perfect baseball down this stretch of the month, because you're kind of playing yourself out of it. And it reminds me of when the Red Wings had that terrible month of December, and further when they had that terrible month in March and going into April. It's like, it wasn't just those late games where, like, we were in it. Like, it's like, no, like, you had opportunities early on. I don't want a potential playoff berth for this team, which I don't know that they're really capable of, but if they are somehow able to be in a playoff chase near the end of the season, I do not want it to be within 1 game, because those 1 or 2 games, those are the Marlins series that you got destroyed to. Those are those Yankee games that you blew. Those are those Guardian games that you blew. And hope if you can go out and not lose to the Blue Jays, but assuming you do lose to the Blue Jays, those are those games. Like, every game counts the same, right? Like, it's not as though, you can say, well, we'll just make up for it later. It's like, you don't get that opportunity all the time. The Red Wings certainly didn't get it this year. Who's to say the Tigers will get it this year? I mean, please, this team hasn't made playoffs in a decade. I got no reason to trust this organization to make the right moves. Scott Harris, regardless of whether it's Scott Harris or not, nobody's been able to make the right move. So, on that happy note, the Tigers they're just not all that good. And I think a lot of people thought maybe they were better than they were. They got a good pitching staff. They got good pitching development, but that's not going to get you very far. And these few games in this month of May, they've shown just how far that'll get you, which is not great. Let me just read this message here. Brother Bay Contreras. I don't know. I can't read that because it's in the fancy font. Shout out to everyone, including BS Sports. Keep up the good work on the channel. Appreciate it. Shout out from South Bronx. Brother BKL. Oh, is that what that is? BKL Contreras, a.k.a. Sports Entertainment Guy. Hey, appreciate the chat, man. Appreciate it. Shout out to South Bronx. Go Yankees. Hey, must be nice. You have an actual competent baseball team. So that's good. That must be a lot of fun. Although you'll probably end up losing in the playoffs like you always do. Anyway, that's just about it. We've hit everything we needed to hit here. It was something of a slow news week. It was mostly just the results of games. But look, I'm going to go watch the Tigers get their ass handed to them and potentially just switch over to watching actual good sports with the Eastern Conference Finals coming on. And they should actually be on right now. So I appreciate anybody for stopping by, hanging out, listening in. We'll be back next Tuesday. We'll break it all down. I don't imagine we're going to have any series decided in either the East or the Western Conference. We will have a little bit more definitiveness there. Hey, and maybe by the time we get back, maybe the Tigers will have won like 6 in a row. Or how many games? I don't even. Hold on. How many games do they have? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 5. Maybe they'll win 5 in a row by the time we're back. I doubt it, but I suppose pigs could fly. No, they can't. They can't fly. Yeah, we're gonna get going. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. We'll talk all about it. Have a good night. See you guys later. Goodbye.